Imagine this for a moment. Every step you take on a long walk feels productive, yet deep inside your muscles, bones, and nervous system, something essential is being quietly neglected. After 65, the body no longer asks for more distance, it asks for more signal. The signal that says, stay strong, stay coordinated, stay alive. Today I want to explore why 3 simple, surgeon-approved exercises can speak that language to your body more clearly than walking ever could. After the age of 65, the body begins to speak a different biological language, one that is often misunderstood and frequently ignored. For decades, walking has been promoted as the universal solution for aging bodies, and while it remains gentle and accessible, it no longer addresses the most urgent needs of the older human system. The aging body is not primarily losing movement, it is losing signal. Muscles weaken not simply because they are unused, but because the nervous system stops sending clear instructions to engage them fully. Walking, by its very nature, is repetitive and predictable, and repetition without challenge teaches the body to conserve rather than adapt. The muscles learn to do the minimum required, and the brain quietly withdraws its deeper involvement. As years pass, muscle fibers responsible for strength, balance, and rapid correction begin to shut down first. These fibers are not designed for endurance but for protection, posture, and sudden response. They are the fibers that keep a person upright when they trip, allow them to rise from a chair without effort, and stabilize joints during everyday movements. Walking does little to awaken these systems because it rarely challenges balance, rarely loads muscles meaningfully, and rarely asks the brain to recalibrate its control. The result is a paradox where someone may walk daily yet still struggle to climb stairs, stand from the floor, or maintain confidence in their own body. The deeper issue is neurological. Aging is often framed as a muscular decline, but in truth it is a communication breakdown. The brain becomes cautious, reducing output to muscles it no longer fully trusts. This caution is protective at first, but over time it accelerates weakness. When muscles are not clearly signaled, they atrophy, and when they atrophy, the brain reduces its signal even further. Walking maintains circulation, but it does not interrupt this cycle. It tells the body to keep moving forward, not to stay capable. Capability, after 65, is defined by how well the body can respond to gravity, instability, and resistance, not by how far it can travel in a straight line. Scientific observation shows that independence in later life correlates more strongly with leg strength, balance control, and neural responsiveness than with cardiovascular endurance. This is why many older adults who walk regularly still experience falls, joint pain, and loss of confidence. The body adapts specifically to what it is asked to do. If it is asked only to move gently and repeatedly, it adapts by becoming efficient at that one task while allowing other systems to fade. Strength and balance are not preserved by accident. They must be deliberately requested through movement that challenges coordination and muscle engagement without overwhelming the system. There is also a metabolic dimension that is often overlooked. After 65, muscle tissue becomes a primary regulator of blood sugar, inflammation, and hormonal balance. Walking burns calories, but it does not strongly stimulate muscle maintenance. Without sufficient muscular signaling, the body shifts toward fat storage, insulin resistance, and chronic inflammation, even in active individuals. This is why many older adults feel tired despite regular walking. Their bodies are active, yet undernourished at the cellular level. Muscle tissue requires a reason to stay alive, and that reason is resistance, balance, and intentional engagement, not endless steps. Psychologically, walking can become a ritual rather than a stimulus. The mind drifts, the body follows, and the nervous system remains largely unchanged. While this can be calming, it does little to restore confidence in physical capability. After 65, confidence is built when the body proves to itself that it can still respond, stabilize, and generate strength. Movements that require awareness create a feedback loop between mind and muscle, reinforcing trust in the body. Walking alone rarely creates this loop because it demands so little conscious involvement. The aging process does not demand more effort, it demands more relevance. The body asks for movements that mirror real-life challenges: standing up, maintaining balance, controlling joints, and resisting gravity. When exercise aligns with these needs, the body responds with efficiency rather than exhaustion. This is why walking, though familiar and comforting, becomes biologically insufficient as a primary strategy after 65. It maintains motion, but it does not preserve function. True longevity is not measured in steps taken, but in the clarity of the signals that keep the body strong, responsive, and self-supporting. The simple act of rising from a seated position appears ordinary, almost insignificant, yet after the age of 65 it becomes one of the most revealing indicators of biological resilience. This movement, often taken for granted in earlier decades, quietly tests the integrity of the entire lower body and the communication network that governs it. When the body transitions from sitting to standing, it must coordinate the hips, thighs, core, and spine while managing balance and distributing force through the joints. This single pattern asks the nervous system to make rapid, precise decisions, and in doing so it exposes where strength and clarity have been lost over time. As aging progresses, many people unconsciously avoid this movement by using their hands, leaning forward excessively, or relying on momentum. These compensations are not signs of laziness, they are signs of neurological hesitation. The brain, sensing reduced strength or instability, seeks shortcuts to minimize perceived risk. Over time, these shortcuts become habits, and habits become limitations. Muscles that are no longer fully recruited begin to weaken further, and the brain interprets this weakness as confirmation that assistance is required. This feedback loop gradually erodes independence, not through injury, but through disuse and diminished confidence. Practicing controlled sit-to-stand movement interrupts this cycle by restoring intentional engagement. When performed slowly and deliberately, the exercise encourages the brain to re-establish full communication with the muscles of the legs and hips. These muscles are among the largest in the body, and when they are properly activated, they produce a cascade of physiological benefits. Blood flow improves, joint lubrication increases, and stabilizing muscles around the knees and hips regain their protective function. This is not merely strengthening, it is re-education. The body is being reminded of how to organize itself efficiently under load. The neurological impact of this movement is particularly profound. Rising against gravity requires the brain to calculate force, timing, and balance simultaneously. Each repetition reinforces neural pathways that may have gone quiet through years of avoidance or passive movement. Unlike walking, which often runs on autopilot, this action demands awareness. The individual feels their weight shift, senses the engagement of muscles, and learns to trust the movement again. This awareness is critical because the nervous system adapts to what it consciously experiences. When attention is present, adaptation accelerates. From a biomechanical perspective, the sit-to-stand pattern closely mirrors many essential daily tasks. Getting out of bed, rising from the toilet, standing from a car seat, or lifting oneself from a low surface all rely on this same coordination. Strength gained in this movement translates directly into functional capability, reducing reliance on furniture, handrails, or assistance from others. This transferability is what makes the exercise uniquely valuable. It trains the body not for abstract fitness, but for real life. There is also a protective element that emerges over time. As the muscles around the hips and thighs regain strength, they absorb more force during movement, reducing stress on the knees and lower back. Joint pain often diminishes not because joints are spared, but because they are supported. The body becomes better at distributing load, and this efficiency lowers the risk of injury. In this way, controlled rising and sitting acts as a form of joint insurance, reinforcing the structures that guard against wear and instability. Emotionally, this movement carries quiet significance. Many older adults associate difficulty standing with loss of autonomy. Each successful, controlled repetition counters that narrative. The body demonstrates capability, and the mind responds with reassurance. This psychological shift is not trivial. Confidence in movement reduces fear, and reduced fear allows the nervous system to operate with less tension. Muscles respond more fluidly when fear is absent, and balance improves as a result. The body moves not defensively, but cooperatively. Over time, the repeated practice of this exercise alters posture and presence. Standing becomes more upright, movements more deliberate, and transitions less rushed. These changes reflect a deeper internal recalibration. The body is no longer bracing against gravity but partnering with it. This partnership conserves energy, improves endurance in daily activities, and supports metabolic health by maintaining muscle tissue that regulates blood sugar and inflammation. What appears to be a simple rise from a chair becomes a declaration that the body is still capable of adaptation. It reasserts the role of strength as a foundation for aging well, not as a pursuit of intensity, but as a restoration of function. In this controlled movement, the body relearns how to support itself, and in doing so, it preserves the quiet dignity of standing on one's own terms. Standing on one leg may appear almost trivial, yet within this still and understated act lies one of the most powerful neurological challenges the aging body can experience. After the age of 65, the body's greatest vulnerability is often not weakness alone, but the loss of internal orientation. Balance is not a muscle. It is a conversation between the brain, the inner ear, the eyes, and the deep stabilizing muscles that quietly hold the skeleton upright. When this conversation fades, the body becomes uncertain of its position in space, and that uncertainty is what leads to hesitation, instability, and falls. With aging, the sensory systems that inform balance begin to dull. Signals from the feet become less precise, reaction times slow, and the brain receives incomplete information about where the body is and how it is moving. To compensate, many people widen their stance, rely on external supports, or limit movement altogether. These adjustments feel protective, but they quietly weaken the very systems needed for stability. Walking, while beneficial for circulation, offers little challenge to this network because both feet remain on the ground, providing constant reassurance to the nervous system. Standing on one leg removes that reassurance. It introduces a controlled instability that forces the brain to wake up and recalibrate. The moment one foot lifts, the nervous system must sharpen its focus. Small muscles in the feet and ankles activate, the hips engage to prevent collapse, and the core subtly adjusts to keep the body aligned. None of this happens consciously at first, yet each microadjustment strengthens neural pathways responsible for balance. The brain learns, repetition by repetition, that it can manage uncertainty without panic. This exercise is particularly effective because it demands cooperation rather than strength alone. The body cannot overpower imbalance. It must sense, respond, and correct. These responses train reflexes that are essential for fall prevention. When someone trips or slips, the ability to recover depends on how quickly the nervous system can detect the disturbance and activate the appropriate muscles. Single-leg standing refines this response in a safe, deliberate way. It prepares the body for the unexpected without exposing it to risk. There is also a profound effect on joint health. As balance improves, weight distribution through the legs becomes more symmetrical. This reduces uneven stress on the knees, hips, and lower back. Many aches associated with aging are not the result of wear alone, but of poor alignment and compensation. Improved balance restores more natural movement patterns, allowing joints to move as they were designed to move. This subtle correction can ease discomfort and enhance mobility without aggressive intervention. The psychological impact of balance training is often underestimated. Fear of falling alters how people move. Steps become shorter, movement stiffer, and posture more guarded. This rigidity increases fall risk rather than reducing it. Standing on one leg, practiced calmly and patiently, helps dismantle this fear. The individual learns to trust their body again. Each successful moment of stillness sends a message to the brain that stability is possible. This trust reduces tension, and reduced tension allows the body to respond more fluidly to change. Balance training also strengthens the connection between breath and movement. When instability is introduced, the instinct is to hold the breath. Learning to breathe calmly while balancing teaches the nervous system to remain regulated under challenge. This regulation extends beyond exercise into daily life, improving how the body responds to stress. The result is not only better balance, but a calmer internal state that supports overall health. From a neurological standpoint, balance work stimulates areas of the brain associated with coordination, attention, and spatial awareness. These areas are closely linked to cognitive function. Maintaining balance requires focus, and focus strengthens neural circuits that support memory and processing speed. While this is not a cognitive exercise in the traditional sense, It nourishes the brain through movement. The body and mind are not separate systems, they adapt together. As the practice becomes familiar, balance improves not because the body has become rigid, but because it has become responsive. The muscles learn to engage only as much as needed, conserving energy while maintaining control. This efficiency is a hallmark of healthy aging. The body stops fighting gravity and begins cooperating with it. Movement feels lighter, transitions feel safer, and confidence returns in quiet, unspoken ways. Standing on one leg becomes more than an exercise. It becomes a rehearsal for life itself, where stability is never absolute and adaptation is always required. In choosing to practice balance, the aging body affirms its capacity to remain present, responsive, and grounded even as conditions change around it. Gentle resistance has a unique and often misunderstood role in the aging body, especially after the age of 65. Many people associate resistance with strain, heavy weights, or the pursuit of muscular size, and as a result, they avoid it out of fear of injury or exhaustion. Yet biologically, resistance is not about force, it is about communication. When muscles encounter even light opposition, they receive a clear message that they are still required. This message is essential, because muscle tissue is metabolically expensive, and the body will not maintain it unless there is a compelling reason to do so. As we age, the efficiency of muscle protein synthesis declines. This means the body becomes less responsive to nutritional signals alone. Protein intake, while important, cannot fully preserve muscle without mechanical stimulus. Gentle resistance provides that stimulus without overwhelming the system. It activates muscle fibers that walking rarely engages, particularly those responsible for strength and joint stabilization. These fibers respond not to speed or distance, but to controlled tension. Even slow, deliberate movements against resistance can trigger repair and maintenance processes that keep muscle tissue viable. The hormonal response to resistance is equally significant. Light resistance encourages the release of hormones involved in tissue repair and metabolic regulation. These hormones support bone density, improve blood sugar control, and reduce systemic inflammation. Walking improves circulation, but it does not generate the same hormonal environment. Without resistance, the body shifts toward energy conservation, storing fat and sacrificing muscle. With resistance, even in modest doses, the body is reminded that strength remains relevant. Joint health benefits from resistance in a way that passive movement cannot replicate. Muscles act as dynamic stabilizers for joints. When they are weak or inactive, joints bear more stress, leading to discomfort and degeneration. Gentle resistance strengthens these stabilizers, distributing load more evenly across joint surfaces. This often results in reduced pain and improved range of motion. Rather than wearing joints down, properly applied resistance protects them by restoring muscular support. Another overlooked aspect of resistance training is its impact on insulin sensitivity. Muscle tissue is a primary site for glucose uptake. As muscle mass declines, blood sugar regulation becomes more difficult, increasing the risk of metabolic disorders. Gentle resistance improves the muscle's ability to absorb glucose efficiently, stabilizing energy levels and reducing fatigue. This metabolic improvement often surprises people who assume that only aerobic exercise influences blood sugar. In reality, muscle engagement plays a central role in metabolic health, particularly in later life. Resistance also enhances the nervous system's capacity to coordinate movement. When muscles work against opposition, the brain must precisely regulate force and timing. This refines motor control and improves movement quality. The result is not stiffness, but smoother, more confident motion. Everyday tasks such as lifting groceries, opening doors, or reaching overhead become easier and safer. The body feels more capable, not more burdened. Emotionally, gentle resistance fosters a sense of agency. Aging often brings the perception of gradual loss, of abilities slipping away beyond one's control. Resistance training counters this narrative by offering tangible evidence of strength. Even small improvements feel meaningful because they translate directly into daily life. This sense of capability reduces fear and encourages continued movement, creating a positive feedback loop between body and mind. There is also a subtle cardiovascular benefit that emerges through resistance. While it does not replace aerobic activity, resistance improves vascular function within muscles, enhancing blood flow efficiency. This means the heart does not need to work as hard to supply oxygen during daily activities. Fatigue decreases, and endurance in real-world tasks improves, not through prolonged exertion, but through improved efficiency. Perhaps most importantly, gentle resistance respects the realities of aging. It does not demand speed, intensity, or competition. It asks only for presence and intention. Movements can be adapted to individual capacity, performed slowly, and integrated into daily routines. This adaptability makes resistance sustainable. The body is challenged, but not threatened. Over time, this consistent, respectful challenge preserves muscle, supports metabolic health, and reinforces the body's structural integrity. Through resistance, the aging body is reminded that it is not fragile by default. It is responsive, adaptive, and capable of maintaining strength when given the right signals. In this quiet exchange between effort and response, the body finds a renewed sense of balance between preservation and possibility. What gives these three exercises their quiet power is not their simplicity, but their ability to restore a sense of dialogue within the body. After the age of 65, the greatest challenge is not the loss of movement itself, but the loss of internal coordination that allows movement to feel safe and purposeful. Many forms of exercise focus on output, on how far, how fast, or how long the body can perform. These measures belong to an earlier stage of life. Later years ask a different question: how well do the systems of the body listen to one another? Strength, balance, and gentle resistance answer that question together, because they address not one tissue, but the relationships between tissues. When movements are intentional rather than repetitive, the nervous system becomes an active participant. Each exercise invites awareness, and awareness sharpens communication. Muscles receive clearer instructions, joints receive better support, and posture improves without being forced. The body becomes less reactive and more responsive. This shift matters because responsiveness reduces unnecessary tension. When the body is tense, it consumes energy inefficiently and becomes prone to injury. When it is responsive, it adapts fluidly to changes in position, terrain, and daily demands. The integration of strength, balance, and resistance also creates hormonal harmony. Stress hormones decrease when movement feels controlled rather than chaotic. At the same time, hormones involved in repair and maintenance increase. This internal balance supports immune function, sleep quality, and emotional stability. Exercise is often discussed as a physical act, but its most profound effects are systemic. The body interprets purposeful movement as a signal of safety and capability. In response, it invests in long-term maintenance rather than short-term survival. One of the most overlooked outcomes of this integrated approach is the restoration of trust between the mind and the body. With age, many people become cautious, moving as if the body might betray them at any moment. This caution is understandable, yet it gradually erodes confidence. When movement is limited by fear, physical decline accelerates. Exercises that emphasize control and awareness rebuild trust gently. Each successful movement reinforces the idea that the body can still be relied upon. This trust transforms how people move through the world, making them more willing to engage in daily activities rather than avoid them. Dignity plays a central role in this transformation. Aging is often framed as a series of losses, but dignity is preserved through capability. The ability to stand, balance, and exert gentle force supports independence in the most fundamental ways. These movements allow individuals to care for themselves without assistance, to navigate their environment with confidence, and to participate fully in daily life. This sense of autonomy has profound psychological benefits, reducing anxiety and supporting emotional well-being. There is also a philosophical dimension to this approach to movement. It acknowledges that the goal of health changes over time. Youth seeks expansion, growth, and achievement. Later life seeks coherence, stability, and presence. These exercises align with that shift. They do not ask the body to defy aging, but to age intelligently. They honor the body's changing priorities, focusing on preservation rather than excess. In doing so, they create a sustainable relationship with movement, one that can be maintained without burnout or injury. Socially, this kind of movement fosters connection rather than comparison. It can be practiced alone or with others, without competition or performance pressure. This inclusivity makes it accessible to a wider range of individuals, regardless of prior fitness history. When exercise feels approachable, adherence improves, and consistency becomes possible. Health is not built in moments of intensity, but in patterns of regular, meaningful engagement. Over time, the cumulative effect of these practices reshapes the aging experience. Movements become more fluid, posture more relaxed, and reactions more precise. The body operates with less effort and greater efficiency. This efficiency conserves energy for activities that bring joy and meaning, whether that is spending time with loved ones, engaging in hobbies, or simply moving through the day with ease. In blending strength, balance, and gentle resistance, these exercises create a framework for aging that is grounded in respect for the human body. They remind us that health is not about resisting time, but about cooperating with it. Through purposeful movement, the body remains an active partner in life, capable of adaptation, expression, and quiet resilience even as the years continue to unfold.